But I mastered that style. It's like the 5 deadly venoms. So all he had to do was get next to a nigga like that, and he could destroy him.
Believe in that, for real. We plan to take the same strategy we use with Death Row West, mind over matter, taking all our weaknesses and making it into our strength. That all these people talk about an East Coast, West Coast war, they like the Judas was to Jesus. They only here to cause confusion. We here to bring money and to bring change. They here to cause confusion. All these weak rappers, Nas, all these suckers, they battling off of East and West like this is a game. This ain't no game. If this was chess, we'd be yelling checkmate 3 years ago, because we've been beat these. It's not a game.
What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Just watched HBO Crawford versus Jean. Want to get my post-fight thoughts. And on my channel, check my old videos. I told people for a long time, Terence Crawford, he's a bad man. And he proved that tonight in his title defense versus Dierry Jean of Canada. And it was a good fight. I'm going to break it down, give you guys the good, the bad, and the ugly, and what I saw tonight. Now, I tweeted, if you follow me on Twitter, at BOXINGEGO, this morning, if Crawford is able to stop Dierry Jean, I will be impressed. He stopped Dierry Jean in round 10. Therefore, staying true to my word, I am impressed. Now, the reason I said that, not saying Dierry Jean has the deepest resume at 140, but I did get to see him in against another guy that I consider like an elite level fighter, a good level professional in Lamont Peterson. And I watched that fight round by round, seeing what I seen in that, and it was a competitive fight throughout. So Terence Crawford in his second fight at 140, right? If he were to stop Dierry Jean, which is something Lamont Peterson wasn't able to do or really even come close to stopping him. He was just boxing good, but it was a very competitive fight. If he could show that separation, then that's how you know the kid is special, because I consider Lamont Peterson to be a really good fighter as well. And he did that. He stopped him in the 10th round. In the first round, Jean got knocked down at the tail end, and this was a good round for Dierry Jean, because I thought Dierry Jean landed some good punches, and you could have really scored it for either person up until he got knocked down in the last like 10 seconds of the round. So it made it a clear Terence Crawford round, even though before that, had it not been for the knockdown, you probably could have gave it to either man. And I think I was probably leaning toward Dierry Jean. But what Terence Crawford did is he switched from orthodox to southpaw, and Dierry Jean wasn't able to switch gears quick enough, you know what I'm saying? And he got clipped, got knocked down. And in round 2, Terence Crawford did what, like, one of the first things they teach you in boxing, consistent jab. He's just pumping out the jab. At the end of the round, he wobbled Dierry Jean. And the thing I like about this, if you look at this fight, it was like he systematically broke him down. And when he switched to southpaw, that really fucked it up for Dierry Jean. And as the rounds grew, you could see Dierry Jean becoming more and more tentative and a bit gun shy because he couldn't adjust. When Terence Crawford was in the right-hander's position, Dierry Jean, he was landing some good punches. And it took a couple rounds for Dierry Jean to even throw with some conviction. He just looked like timid and intimidated, and he started getting blasted and walked down. To Dierry Jean's credit, he is tough. And I told you guys on Twitter, I was doing the round by round, I said he has to really sell out and throw punches. That's his only shot, you know what I'm saying? Just like go for broke. And the funny thing about this fight is I just watched another fight, HBO, that was dictated by an early jab. And that was with Triple G versus Lemieux, and also in this fight. But I told you guys on Twitter, I hate to say this, I know some people are going to get mad, but I don't really give a fuck. To me, Terence Crawford fought more quote-unquote Mexican style, using that term, than Triple G did versus Lemieux. And to Triple G's credit, he got the victory. He dominated just like Terence Crawford. But the big difference, and the reason I say Terence Crawford fought more Mexican style, quote unquote, is because Triple G is associated with that term. That's kind of like his trademark. And I thought Triple G was clearly dominated and beat the shit out of David Lemieux, but he didn't really take that many gambles until the point where he knew he could hurt David Lemieux. And you know what I'm saying? Like, he knew, like, David Lemieux had lost every round. But that's not what Terence Crawford did. Terence Crawford was fighting exceptionally aggressive. Keep in mind, this is his second fight in this division. and he was fighting very dangerous and very aggressive. He was piling on. Anytime he had Dierry Jean hurt, he was like going for the kill. He was fighting really, really aggressive. And that, I mean, that's what they quote unquote call Mexican style. To me, I think Triple G fought more of a calculated fight. Like, you know what I'm saying? He didn't really go for broke. He didn't take any chances. And I mean, to each his own. You got to get the win. So as long as you get the victory, it is what it is. But I'm just saying, because a lot of the fans keep bringing up like Mexican style and stuff like that. Terence Crawford was fighting a very dangerous style, because Dierry Jean, if you go to BoxRec right now, don't take my word for it, look at his KO percentage. He has punching power. He has some pop. You know what I mean? And again, this is Terence Crawford's second fight in the division. Triple G's been fighting at middleweight since the amateurs, so he's a bit more acclimated to that division. Dierry Jean, he was game, he was tough. What round was it? Let me check my Twitter. Round 8, I believe it was. He clipped Terence Crawford with 2 really good shots, 2 big flush shots, 2 right hands, I think it was. And the thing I liked from Crawford was his response and his response time. He immediately, after he got clipped, it's like he acknowledged it. He like smiled or something, like the fighters do, Brandon Rios and whoever, when they get blasted with the big shot, they smile like, oh no, it didn't hurt me. But you know it had some effect. But his response time and his response to it, he immediately he's like, oh shit, like, you know what I'm saying? He's like, oh shit, you gonna hit me? And then he piled it on, and he's like, like I said earlier, Mexican style. He got really aggressive. Like, you ain't gonna just, you know what I'm saying, win and win this round, you know what I'm saying? And then I gave the round to Crawford just because it looked like he hurt Dierry Jean after Dierry Jean had got his attention, you know what I'm saying? And just through the consistency of that round. So I really had it a shutout for Terence Crawford. And again, it was all set up with a beautiful jab. He was mixing up his punches. And Terence Crawford is such a beautiful boxer, his style-wise, that there's little subtle things that people don't predict. Like on my tweet earlier, I said that I think the end is near for Dierry Jean, because what he was doing is, on top of switching righty, southpaw, and all that, he was abusing Dierry Jean's body. Just subtle, like body shots. But that stuff pays dividends later, and it adds up, especially if you're getting hit low, hit high, hit up top, and stuff like that. And he was fighting aggressive. Like, you could tell there was some tension, and it was later revealed post-fight that there was some shit talking between the two camps. I guess Dierry Jean and team disrespected, say, we're taking your belt back to Canada, we're going to knock you out, and we'll even do the rematch back here in Omaha. So, I mean, Terence Crawford, he was fighting with a chip on his shoulder, but unlike maybe Timothy Bradley versus Ruslan Provodnikov, it didn't get him in too much trouble. It was still favoring him because, like I said, I had it a shutout. So he knew what he was doing in there, and he was really clearly winning the rounds as far as I'm concerned. Dierry Jean, like I said, big heart. He was tough. He wasn't game. You know what I'm saying? Or he just got outclassed, and then he got stopped in the 10th round. But Crawford was exceptionally aggressive. And to me, it's good to see. I like when Keith Thurman fought Leonard Bundu, it was kind of a boring fight. It wasn't the greatest fight to me. But I like seeing a different side of Keith Thurman. Instead of just aggressive knockouts and stuff, I like to see that a fighter has multiple sides. And the fact, I knew Crawford had an offensive defense, but he fought this like a shark. You know what I'm saying? He was cornering Dierry Jean, walking him down. Even when the knockout came in the 10th round, he knocked Dierry Jean through the ropes. And then Tony Weeks has seen enough because a sustained punishment. And you could tell it was a good stoppage because Dierry Jean, it didn't look like he had leg. It looked like he's the type of person he'll get seriously hurt because he's so tough and he's going to keep trying and trying. But he started getting pulverized and hit with vicious body shots, and he was still standing. So the motherfucker's tough. But Terence Crawford, he did his thing. It was like he had a side bet with Warren Buffett, who's also from Omaha. It was like he had a side bet, if you win this, I'll give you a chunk of change, because he was fighting like he had something to prove. Maybe they got in his ear hey, if you look good, you'll get the Pacquiao fight. Now I really want to see the Pacquiao fight. You know what I mean? Coming off of this, I don't know what weight they're talking about doing it, if he's going to move up to 47. And the good thing about this, too, is unlike the Gamboa-Crawford fight, this was a pretty even rehydration. I think Crawford was 156 and Dierry Jean rehydrated to 155. So it's not like Crawford was too much bigger. Plus, Dierry Jean has more experience at the weight than Terence Crawford because it's his second fight. So all-star performance by Terence Crawford. He was having fun in there, smiling. He moves beautifully. And see, this is people are going to get me, why you keep talking about Triple G Lemieux? Because I talk about whatever the fuck I want. So another comparison, too, is Triple G, he's a destructive puncher and stuff. They were arguing about, does Terence Crawford have destructive power like Triple G. I think Triple G's power, he clearly has power, but I think his power is overrated, to be honest. I don't think it's Mike Tyson, Julian Jackson power, because I don't really see many single shot knockouts. I think he's more of a kind of like a very aggressive boxer puncher. You know what I'm saying? He can get you out of there, but you don't really see many single shots. Like Ashita, that was a career 154 pounder. Daniel Gill, you know what I'm saying? You don't really see too many. I think both guys have power, and it's an accumulation of systematic beatdown, and you know what I'm saying? It just, they overwhelm. So that's kind of my take on it. But the thing that's the difference when it comes to the boxing shit with Triple G and Lemieux is, like I said, Lemieux, Triple G played it very safe by just dictating with the jab, and when Crawford's doing it, he's doing dangerous things in there because he's sliding in. He was way more aggressive than Triple G versus Lemieux against a guy who can punch. He was switching at weird times to orthodox, back to southpaw, and he was using more like athleticism, I guess, like more rhythmic, you know what I'm saying, in terms of upper body movement, and he had some unusual feints and stuff like that. So back-to-back good performances at the weight at 140. I like Terence Crawford. They're talking about possibly making a Pacquiao. If they don't do the Pacquiao thing in April, then there's other great fights for him at 140. I would love to see Broner. I don't know if that would happen because of politics, but I mean, I'm sure there's other people that we could watch him see. I just like seeing him perform. I mean, the dude is fluid. He has an offensive mind when he wants. He's defensive, and he's very athletic. So big ceiling. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like my video. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.